How do you actually start a conversation when cold approaching? As a shy introvert, I always used to struggle to get a conversation going when trying to talk to girls, but here are the 3 things I did that will allow you to start a conversation with ease. This first thing will make talking to people so much easier, and it only takes a small mental reframe. I want to take you back to when I was 19 years old. I left my hometown and I moved to Florida. I knew absolutely no one, and there was nowhere easy for me to make friends. I wasn't in school anymore, and I didn't have any social connections, so I was kind of off on my own and absolutely terrified of making friends. And this lasted for months. I didn't socialize at all. And day by day, month by month, the fear of socializing only grew and grew. And the whole time I knew that there was this 18 plus social club on Thursday nights. They had an 18 plus night. You couldn't drink, but you can still go and meet people. And just the thought of going alone would give me so much anxiety. And eventually, after just being sick of my situation, I decided to go. Leading up to that day, the whole day I had terrible anxiety to the point where I literally threw up before going out. I was panicking. I was like, I can't go to this place alone. That's so weird. No one's gonna. It was just like every limiting belief, negative thought was going through my head, but I was committed to going. So I went anyway. And when I got there, I just saw this kid sitting at the bar watching a football game. I said hi to him. We started talking a bit. We played some pool. A couple of girls joined us. Before you knew it, we were talking to a lot of people. I ended up talking to a bunch of girls and actually meeting one that went on to be my girlfriend. So the first mindset shift is you don't need to know exactly what to say. You just have to say something. Keep in mind, I was that same shy introvert who was absolutely panicking just a few hours before going out. And now all of a sudden I was having good social conversations. I was in a social flow, all because I took imperfect action. I didn't know the best opener. I didn't know what to say to every single girl, but I just went out there and I started socializing. I started small by talking to a guy. I had someone on my team. I had an ally. Now we were doing things together, and things just kind of got better and better. And before you knew it, I was talking to all these girls, and it was just going well. Although I didn't have game, I wasn't the best socially. I didn't know what to say. Things just went well because I just took the first step. Imperfect action will always be trying to make a perfect intro or anything like that. So if you stick around for the next 2 lessons though, I will tell you the best ways to start conversations for having the highest probability of success. But for this point, as an introvert, a lot of the times you'll get wrapped up in your thoughts and you're like, I'm too shy, and all these things come to mind when the first step is usually the hardest, but that will get you 90% of the things you want, which is just putting yourself out there. Just going up to someone and saying hi, just introducing yourself is more than enough, and it will do 90% of the work for you, because most of you are more than capable, like I was, of having great social interactions. Your own mind is your biggest enemy. And if you want to get the girl of your dreams in the next 3 months, book a free coaching call with me down below. Make sure to act quick because I'm only taking on 3 new clients this month. So now when you go up to a girl, for me, there was this time when my mind would go absolutely blank and I wouldn't know what to say. And this was a huge fear of mine, having that happened once or twice and gone bad. So this is what you can do to start a conversation with ease that will work nearly 100% of the time. So this past summer, I was in Sweden and I went on a Tinder date, meeting a girl for a first time. And I was picking her up from her house to bring her back to mine. And we were gonna go jet skiing and go in the sauna. So as soon as I picked her up, we started a conversation that ended up lasting into the entire night. So what did I do that allowed this conversation to go so well? Just by asking low resistance, open-ended questions to get the conversation going, this is more than enough. So what do I mean? Just like sticking to the basics, like where do they live? Are they in school? Are they working? Like talk about their hobbies, if they played any sports, their interest. This is more than enough to get a conversation going. And then from there, you can ask open-ended follow-up questions to each one of these specific topics and see where it goes. The more someone lights up, the more you can stay on that topic. If they're very vague and they don't really want to talk about it, then you don't have to go down that path. But let me give you an example. So I don't remember exactly how the conversation went now that it's like 5+ months ago. But it probably went something like this. This is something I'll normally say where it's like, oh, have you lived here your entire life? And let's just say she was like, yes. And I'd be like, oh, awesome. What do you think of this town? And let's just say she said, oh, it's nice, but it was still kind of general. And she's like, oh, I like living here. It's nice. And then I would probably interject something like, oh yeah, I love it here too. XYZ is so beautiful about it. I love this, that, or the other thing. And be like, what do you like about this town? And then you give her a chance to tell you what she likes, right? And you can keep just going very easily where it's just like each topic has so much that you can dive into, where if you use these open-ended questions, really trying to, draw out each subject and get as deep as possible without being weird about it, you can have such great conversations on such basic topics, and this is going to allow you to build rapport and then get to the deeper things. That's really the important thing, is that you're building rapport, you're building trust, you're building likeness, because you may be very physically attracted to someone. Like a girl could be super physically attracted to you, but if you don't build any rapport, you don't build any trust, and she doesn't get to like you, it's gonna be very hard for you guys to connect and escalate things to the next level. And you need that baseline level of trust established, which is really just gonna come from you talking about really basic things and then just being on the same page. Think of each thing that you talk about and that you can relate to and kind of make some connections on a piece of paper. And each piece of paper that you can take stacks and it stacks and it stacks. And then once you have a really solid stack of paper, now you've built this great rapport where it's like, say you only had one little thing that's like your attraction, it's like one piece of paper to that person, the wind can come and just blow that away. But if you have this huge stack of paper between, the physical attraction, you've got all these things that you got in common, you've talked about so many different areas, now you got this huge piece of stack of paper that the wind can't blow away. It's basically just building a solid connection. And the best way I've found to do this has been just to talk about these very basic things, but get a little bit deep on them and go the direction that that person wants to go. If they don't want to talk about something, don't talk about it. But if they start lighting up or you start seeing some kind of like interest in that topic, I would really try and, dive into that. So now you might be thinking, well, what happens after I ask the basic questions? Where do I take things from here? Well, so to pick up off that last story, that conversation didn't just last through the car ride. It lasted the entire night. We went in the car ride home, that was about 15 minutes. Before the jet ski, we talked a little bit, then we hopped on the jet ski. Obviously, we couldn't talk while we were driving. And then we got back, we were in the sauna talking that whole time, and then we hung out a little bit longer, and we're still talking then. So this conversation lasted the entire night. Obviously, not every single second of that night we were spent talking, but we were talking most of that time. So once you have a conversation going, it's not that hard to maintain. Think about, I like to always preach to you guys that the best topic to talk about is that person themselves. There's nothing more interesting than this person in their own mind. So you have decades to talk about when you're talking to someone, depending on how old they are. If they're like 18, 20, that's 2 decades, 30, that's 3 decades. There's so much of this person's life that you can dive into that's only gonna strengthen your bond and build more rapport and really build a great relationship between the two of you. The surface level things are great for just establishing the baseline level of rapport and getting that person to like you. But once you have that, now you can start diving into deeper and deeper things that's only gonna make this whole process of building this relationship so much better. So what do you think you can talk about? Well, you can talk about their past, their dreams, their hopes and aspirations, their current life right now. And there's so much in each one of these areas that you can dive into. Each one of these topics can be something that can go on for so long, and you can dive so deep if you frame it the right way. And some of these conversations, if you ask the right questions, can be amazing. I'll just give you one example, just that something came to mind that is a great question, like once you've built rapport. So I asked this girl, we were on a date, we'd already built some rapport, we hung out the night before, we were on a date, and we were a little bit into the date, and I asked her this question. I said, what would you do with your life if you had all the money in the world and now you just had to fill your time? And then she answered, she said something like, I would love to spend time with my family. I love to spend time in nature. Obviously, I wouldn't want to work a job and whatever it was. But that was her answer. And, things like this, questions are so powerful because they can not only get that person opening up, but you can also find out their, motivations and desires for things, where it's like if that girl answered, she was like, I would just go party all day and travel nonstop and, drink all day, then it's like, this is not a good partner, where some of these questions can really do so much for you. So questioning is extremely powerful. I know this is a little bit off that topic of how easy it is to keep a conversation going, but it's really important that you understand that questions are what's going to lead you to have amazing conversations. So if you want to keep a conversation going forever, just think of very intelligent questions and usually follow them up with open-ended questions that will allow you to keep this conversation going on a topic that's very interesting, which is usually about that person, right? So that is pretty much how you can keep a conversation going nearly forever. Once again, if you want to get the girl of your dreams in the next 3 months, make sure to book a free coaching call down below. There's only 3 spots left for this month. They're filling up quick, so make sure to lock yours in. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more free game.